More stories to read to the thing under the bed by Winslow Swan. Audiobook narrated and produced by Edward James Beesley. Shadows. Like most stories that I write, this one came from a particularly bad nightmare. No, I am not ungrateful or anything for you coming to see me. As a matter of fact, I'm quite glad that you're here. I would offer you a chair to sit down on, but the only thing this alley has are a few crates from the grocery store on the corner. So, if you want to pull one of those up and sit here by the fire... Yes, I know making a fire is illegal, but I have to keep warm somehow. Besides, it's in a barrel and I haven't had an accident yet. Stays pretty warm around here with it going, but you're right. I do have to keep watch for the police or the fire marshal. That's why I have this bucket of water, just in case. I really don't need that much anymore. I was a little surprised that you came down this dark alley so late at night. Most people would go out of their way to avoid such a place as this. What with crime rate in the city so high. Yes, I have protection, so there is no need to worry about my safety. I can take care of myself. What was that? Oh, you want to know how I wound up sleeping in a cardboard box and wearing whatever clothes I could find? Are you a reporter? Oh, I see. You're from that church down the street. Yes, I know of it. I have partaken of your daily lunches on many occasions. Such a fine building it is to serve a lunch in, almost cathedral-like, don't you think? No, I wasn't being sarcastic. I'm very grateful for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us street creatures that no one wants to acknowledge during the daylight hours and who avoid at night. What brought me here to such a state as this, you want to know? Well, first of all, you can stop calling me sir and use my given name. It's Joe. Just plain Joe. Thank you. Pleased to meet you as well. Yes, I am rather young, if you can call 39 young. I think that the past 2 years of living in this cardboard box out on the street has aged me considerably. You probably thought that I was in my 60s, but I can assure you that I have not reached the big 40 yet. No, that won't happen until March, which is in 2 months. The worst thing about the streets is the winter time, and of course the city doesn't help much. Mostly they just want us to move along and go somewhere else, become somebody else's problem. That's the thing, though. It has always been a problem for someone, somewhere, since the beginning of time. You can go all the way back to Adam and Eve. They lost their home too. Well, my home couldn't exactly be called Eden, but it was rather nice. I had a large 15-bedroom mansion over in Druid Hills, the largest house out that way. In addition to an Olympic-sized swimming pool, heated of course, there was a guest house, a garage that housed 3 cars, a rather plump but quite competent cook, a cleaning service that came twice a week, and a wife that thought a credit card was mandatory everywhere she went. No, it wasn't my wife that brought me to this state of affairs. The company that I worked for decided that the best thing to do was to go bankrupt, which, in turn, led me to do the same. In less than 3 months, I went from sleeping between satin sheets to a cardboard box. My wife left me for the woman she is having an affair with, and is living comfortably in sunny California. Luckily, we had no children. So, here I am 2 years later, living from day to... make that surviving from day to day, and trying to scrape together enough money to begin a new life. Believe me, that isn't as easy as you may think. I beg your pardon? Did you actually ask if I had tried to get a job? Have you seen the job market? Plenty of help-wanted signs, but no one really hires. And without a telephone, how is one supposed to get in touch with me? No, I apologize. I let go on an occasional outburst, and people seem to get offended. But I digress. I was telling you about the sorry state of affairs in which I find myself at this present time, and the horror of the nightmare in which I currently live. Yes, a nightmare. A living nightmare that began just a few months ago. By now, most people would have given me a quid or two, smiled their oh-so-condescending smile, and politely walked away. That was why I asked if you were a reporter. Only a reporter would want to hear the facts in the case, to take them and mash them up into a story that has absolutely no bearing on the truth. Still here, I see. Well, perhaps I can offer you some refreshment. I have a bottle of soda here somewhere. No? Very well. If you are really interested, I'll continue. It was a few months ago, around July, I believe, that the waking nightmare began. After you have lived on the streets for a period of time, you get to know certain people and become a part of a group, a rather close-knit community that tends to look out for each other. If someone in your little family becomes sick, we try to take care of them. We check in on each other from time to time and make sure that someone hasn't died. Sometimes one person will just disappear and will be replaced by someone else. Gary, a rather burly gentleman of 60 or so, had met me while I was scouting out a place to sleep one night. We got to be rather good friends. It was he who found me this little alleyway, and between the two of us set it up quite nicely, don't you think? Anyway, around July, like I said, he stopped by. I hadn't seen him for a few weeks and thought that perhaps he had found a way out of his situation. Alas, I was mistaken in that presumption. You see, once the streets get you, it is rather difficult to leave. "Hey, Joe! What do you know?" he said, hailing me that hot July evening. "Gary, where the hell have you been?" I called back as he made his way to my little corner of the world. "Pull up a crate and sit down." As he sat, I noticed the new clothes and the close shave that he had. There was no stubble on his chin, and he smelled of fragrant soap. "You sure do look good," I complimented him. "I feel good, Joe. Damn good. Funniest damn thing," he began. "There I was, sitting on that bench outside the hotel, wondering how the hell I was going to eat that night, when out of the hotel comes my old boss from 15 years ago. He glanced at me first and then started to get in a cab, but then he turned and called me by name and pumped me hand and, well, Joe, he took me back into the hotel, got me a room, a good meal, some proper clothes, and now, well, you are looking at the head of security for Gentron Electrics." "No shit," was all I could think to say. Pretty poor choice of words for a college graduate, don't you think? "That's right. I have a great apartment now, a salary, health insurance, everything I need, and I don't just stand around. Oh no, I am the boss of the security team. I got people under me, and for the first time in my life, I am in charge." Gary was very proud, and I was happy for him. We talked a little more, laughed at the same stupid jokes that we had told each other 1,000,000 times. He had bought a basket of food from his car that his boss had graciously given him to use, and we had a fine old picnic right here in the alleyway. "The reason I was looking you up, Joe, was that I know things haven't gone easy for you, so I asked my boss if I could hire anybody I want. That was why I came looking for you. I want to offer you a salaried position in the company," he told me, beaming away. It was at that precise moment that I heard the hissing sound, almost like a small gas leak, which was what I thought it was. "So, what do you say?" he asked me, but my mind was concentrating on the noise. It seemed to be coming from just the other side of the alley. "Don't you hear that?" I asked him. He looked at me, puzzled at first, but then he caught the sound as well. The one thing about street people that you have to understand is that our senses, like someone who is blind, are more attuned to the vibrations of the city. Our sense of smell and hearing is more acute, and when something seems to be off, we know it. It must be some steam from somewhere, Gary said, although I don't think that he really believed it. Yeah, steam, I half-heartedly agreed. So, what do you say about the job? He asked again. Well, it sounds great, but what do I do about clothes and a place to live? I asked. Oh, hell. You put up with me for a time. I've got plenty of room, and we get along great, so what's the problem? When would you want all this to take place? I asked. Right away. My car's parked on the corner. We can leave right now. Damn it, man, I'm offering you a chance to get your life back. You're too damn young to be living like this, he told me. The world is full of ifs. We all look back on some point in our life and play that stupid game of what if, and try to think that maybe, if we had made a different decision, the outcome would have been much better, and our lot in life would be much easier. For example, what if I had ignored that sound that seemed to be coming from just behind Gary on that hot July night? What if I had not said that I saw a shadow in the corner of the alleyway, and that I thought that that was where the hissing was coming from? What if Gary had not taken out his gun? What the hell is that for? I asked him, startled by the sheer size and magnitude of the .357. Gary smiled as he brandished it. Oh, you like it? Well, it sure as hell isn't a police issue. Where did you get it? I told you I work in security for a high-level company, he told me in that proud voice of his. Well, whom do you think would want to break in? An elephant? Gary laughed, and that great booming laugh of his. But there was an edginess to it that I had not heard before. It seemed that every fibre of his body was on high alert. As he turned towards the shadow, we could both hear the hissing sound increase in volume, sounding almost like a snake, coiled and ready to strike. It looks like there's someone over there, Gary said in a whisper, his gun at the ready. You see, out here on the street, you can't be too careful, and I was damn grateful for Gary and the cannon that he held. Yes, I have been robbed a few times by these street punks that seem to know everything and can't get anything accomplished. I looked over in the corner of the alley. The streetlights did not illuminate enough to cover the whole of it, and in that corner it seemed to be darkest of all. I can't make out anybody over there, Gary said. It must have been a steam pipe or something that busted. I don't smell any gas, so that couldn't be it, I said. And that shadow. Look how dark it is. Yeah, I was noticing that too. Weird, like it's just sitting there. But what I don't understand is what the hell is causing the shadow, Gary said. I don't know why I kept staring. I had pondered the whole situation right up to the very moment that you came and began asking me questions. We both could have just left this alleyway and went on to a beautiful life. Another what-if scenario, I suppose. I kept staring at the shadow, trying to make out its shape and size. It seemed to settle on the wall of the building, like it was waiting for something. It was darker than the dark that surrounded it. As I stared, I could barely make out movement within the shadow, like there was something alive inside of it. What is it, Joe? I vaguely heard Gary ask me, for I was too busy trying to distinguish forms that were swirling inside the shadow. As my eyes began to adjust to the darkness, I started backwards. What's the matter, Joe? You see something in there? I saw something, all right. To this day, I don't know if it was a trick of my eyes or the light or what it was, but I did see something. It was like a flash, only momentary, but it was there, within the shadow, sort of sliding around like a jellyfish in the ocean. "I think I saw my cat," I told Gary. You see, when I first took up residence in this alley, there was a stray tomcat that used to beg for food. I've always had a fondness for animals, and they seem to have an affinity for me. This tomcat was rather special. Or perhaps you had seen him around near the church that you go to, or perhaps on your way home. Like the homeless, you probably took no notice of that dark, sleek form stealthily moving through the darkness of the streets, only to peek out once and again for scraps of food or, more importantly, affection. He was a large brute of a creature, but had gentleness to him. He wandered into my small area of existence, and without so much as a word, had made himself right at home near me, his long tail curling up around my arm. After a bite of the meagre food in which I had found, he looked up to me as if to say, "No, sir, you need that more than I do." The one thing that stood out was not the blackness of the fur or the long tail or even the way the giant animal carried itself like a burglar, but the eyes. Yes, they were both of different shades of colour, one an almost white-blue and the other a piercing green. The eyes had seemed to show a dark wisdom behind them, or perhaps secrets that mankind is not yet privy to. I came to start calling it Charlie, after a friend of mine that had gotten killed by a drunk driver. He had had the same sort of penetrating eyes. That was what I saw within the dark mass of blackness that seemed to hang upon the wall. Not the face that held those eyes, but just the eyes themselves, sort of rolling around within the shadow like two ghosts. There was no form around the eyes to suggest a face, but I remembered those eyes. You see, I thought that the cat had just run away or had been picked up, for I had not seen it in weeks. "What did you see?" Gary asked. "You wouldn't believe me," I told him as I began to back away from the shadow. Now what about this job?" I tried to begin the conversation, but Gary kept staring into the blackness, his gun at the ready. "What the hell?" he said, raising the gun a little higher and aiming it directly at the mass of blackness. Do you hear it, Joe? That hissing sounds more like moaning, like an animal moaning." I could hear it all right, and I could have told him what it was. You see, that cat, that huge animal that had become attached to me, had a strange guttural sound, almost croaking out. He could not meow like any other cat, but that sound, like fingernails on a chalkboard, was now being emitted from the shadow of blackness. My blood turned ice cold, and I began to shiver all over. Sweat had formed on my brow as I began to back away from the thing that seemed to be growing in size. "Who's in there?" Gary yelled, pointing the gun at the very centre of the shadow. I noticed his hand was shaking slightly, and could tell that he was not as brave as he was pretending to be. "Come on, Gary, let's just get out of here," I tried to persuade him. "And you must understand the reason that I'm telling you all this. Oh, you have been so kind, bringing me the bologna sandwich and the bottle of water from the church. But I want you to know, you must know, that I tried to get Gary to come with me out of this alleyway, away from whatever that thing was. I tried." "Wait, Joe," he said, looking back at me. "I'm just trying to understand this. Now look, shadows come from something. When the light hits something and blocks it, a shadow is created on the wall or the floor. But this is no ordinary shadow, and I want to know what the hell it is." You see, don't you? You see that no matter what I said or how hard I tried, I could not persuade him to leave. Now you have to understand that. Tell me that you understand. I watched Gary raise the gun and point, his hand trembling from the fear that I know must have been boiling up inside him. I saw him inch towards the shadow, his shoes shuffling along the street. "Joe, are you still back there?" he said, not turning around. "Yes, but why don't we just—" I saw the shapeless thing begin to creep along the street, and before I could warn him, it grabbed his leg. Now, I know what you must be thinking, that I am crazy, that I have escaped from some hospital, and that my drug-induced stupor has led me to believe that a shadow grabbed my friend by the leg. I'm telling you the truth. That thing, that shadow of blackness, took a life of its own and grabbed Gary's leg. I could hear the hissing and growling sound grow louder, and I watched as Gary turned to me. "Joe!" Gary looked down at his leg and began to scream. He fired one bullet into the mass, and I saw the wall behind it explode in mortar and cement. But the weapon had no effect on it. It creeped up Gary's leg while Gary began to swipe at it with his hands. "Help me, Joe! For God's sake, help me!" I reached out and Gary grabbed my arm, but I could feel the tug of the shadows as they made their way around his waist. "It's burning! Oh, Christ, I'm on fire!" I was waiting for a barrage of people to start streaming into the alley to find out what or who was screaming and firing guns. That is the other thing about the homeless that no one sees. If someone is in trouble, the average person just shies away from it, for they have their own problems and can't be bothered with someone getting beaten or robbed or killed. Yet you did take an interest. You walked into my little alley and offered me compassion and sustenance. I am quite grateful. But again, I digress, and I do apologize. I held on to Gary for as long as I could. He screamed as the shadows covered his chest, telling me the fire was all over him. I saw the look of horror grow in his eyes and saw the despair that replaced the horror, the knowing that he was about to die in an alley with his friend holding on to him. I felt the shadows tugging at Gary, pulling him out of my grip. As I stumbled backwards, I fell onto the street and watched in stupefied horror what the shadows began to do. Through a thin veil of blackness, I could make out the still writhing form of my friend, trying desperately to claw out of the thing which now enveloped him. I saw the flesh of his face slowly being ripped away as if by an invisible claw that was scratching at him. I watched as the top of Gary's head was sliced clean away, and his brain pop out of his skull like a jack-in-the-box from some insane child's toy room. I saw the eyes sink into the skull, the chest torn open and the heart explode. I saw the bones being crushed and pulverized until there was absolutely nothing left of the man. I wanted to retch, to let go of everything that I had in my stomach and get the hell away from that hellish place. I saw the gun lying somewhere near where Gary had been standing. On pure instinct alone, I picked it up and pointed it at the blackness. I knew that the bullets would have no effect on it, but I had to try, if not for my own sanity, which was indeed holding on by merely a thread. I was just about to pull the trigger when I saw them again, those two cat's eyes rolling around in the blackness. I don't know what it was that made me drop the gun. If perhaps those eyes were now a part of this mass of blackness that held no shape or form, or if the thing itself hypnotized me with those very eyes. For some reason, I put the gun into my pocket and slowly stepped toward the shadow. Gary said that he was burning from the shadows, but I only felt coolness coming from them. I saw a long, slender tendril of darkness making its way toward me, and I thought that if this were the end of my life, that I would face it with dignity. I felt the shadow brush my cheek so slightly with a touch of silkiness. I saw the eyes rolling around and facing me, and saw the sadness in them, as if the thing were sorry that it had killed my friend. I felt a sudden warmth from the tendril that now touched my forehead and made its way down my nose into my lips. It felt like the tender kiss of a lover. Then I fainted. So that, my friend, is my story. I want you to know how happy I am that you decided to stay as long as you have. I am sure that you have other places to go and other people to feed. Oh, the shadow! Well, when I woke up, everything was back to normal. Gary was gone. There was no trace of him anywhere except his car. Oh, they searched, and the police asked me some questions, but they never did find him. The shadow was a whole other story. Almost every night it would come around looking for something to eat. I started to call it Charlie because of those eyes that swim around in the black inkiness. Stray dogs and cats and rats do for a while, but sometimes it gets more hungry than even I can manage. No, sit still and please keep very quiet. You see, even if you do scream, no one will come. They never do. They, the people that walk up and down that busy street at the beginning of this alleyway, will think that somebody who is homeless and hungry and perhaps insane, is being beaten or robbed or killed, and it really isn't their problem. So go ahead and scream. Oh, you can hear it too. Please, now, I asked you not to move. I still have Gary's gun, and I have been covering you for quite a while now. I would really hate to shoot you. That would be bad. You see, Charlie likes his meat fresh. Epilogue. The butler did it.